What is up, fight fans, and welcome back to another KJ MMA show. I am Ryan. He is Garrett, and we have another great UFC event this Saturday. This time it's UFC Vegas 60. And Garrett, we have a really interesting fight at the top of this card. Corey Sandhagen, Yadong Song. Sandhagen is a minus 190, 200 favorite. Yadong Song is a plus 167-ish dog here. What's the smart play? Is there any money here on Song, or do you feel that Corey Sandhagen is the pick?
I feel like I have to go with Sandhagen here. I think he's obviously more established. He's been at the top of the game for a while now. He's got the 25-minute experience. And he just brings different things to the table that Song really has never had to deal with. We've seen Song also fade as the fight goes on. Once it hits round 3, he's a completely different fighter. He's balls to the wall in 2 rounds. So after the 3rd, 4th, the 5th round, I think we're going to see him fade considerably, and that's where Sandhagen will probably take over, possibly finish him late or get the decision win. It's not like he can't get it done. He's got the power to do so. He's coming off of back-to-back knockouts, brutal knockouts. But if you go before that, he won a split against Casey Kenny. He lost to Kyler Phillips. He arguably lost to Marlon Vera. He arguably lost to Cody Stamann as well. So, I mean, there's a chance that he possibly could be 2-4 in his last 6 fights. So I just don't think he's at Sandhagen's level just yet. I do think he has some room to grow, but I got Sandhagen getting the job done, possibly by decision.
And I think it's interesting that you said he has some room to grow, because that's what I think the difference in this fight is going to be, is the length of Corey Sandhagen. He's just longer than Yadong Song, and we've just seen how much of a problem that is for a lot of his opponents, especially in this weight class. So I'm with you 100%. I really like Corey Sandhagen here. I think it's a very, very safe bet at the top of this UFC Vegas 60 card. Now, your co-main event, it's a little bit more of a rolling of the dice, because both of these guys have fight finishing power that can get you out of there lickety split. And Chidi and Njokuani, he has 4 finishes in a row, 2 of them being very, very fast and over some high-level opponents too. And he's a little bit later in his career, I guess you could say. Well, he's at least a veteran. He's been at it for a while, back in the UFC. And Gregory Rodriguez has looked great as well. This is almost like a pick'em fight. Njokuani's minus 120 of a favorite, and Rodriguez is looks like minus 102. I'm looking at fight odds. Their odds here for this fight. So do you feel like this is accurate, or do you feel like one of these guys might be maybe a little bit more favored than the other? They should have a chance to really go in there and secure a solid win.
It's a tough one. I think the line is accurate. I do think it's a close fight. And Njokuani, I do think he's got the power advantage, even though Rodriguez has a ton of power himself. But I think Njokuani can literally knock you out with any single limb on his entire body. I mean, he just got a nasty elbow knockout in his last fight. So, and also he's super long too. He's hard to really deal with. He really can't get into boxing range, is what, Rodriguez really needs to get into. So at range, at distance, at length, Njokuani will probably just pick him apart, probably finish him. But Rodriguez, he's a BJJ black belt. He's got a really good double leg takedown. He's really heavy on top, and that's where his path to victory is. But whether or not he gets into a firefight is, I don't know. I mean, he likes to stand and bang. We've seen it in his last 2 fights. Armin Petrosian, he took him down, midway or late 2nd round, when he should have done it in the 1st round. And he goes out there and absolutely starches Julian Marquez last fight. Maybe he's going to, stand for more than he should and possibly get put away. I don't know. That's why sometimes I don't like betting on fighters that don't fight smart, and Rodriguez doesn't fight smart. He knows he could probably take down majority of his opponents and make his life a hell of a lot easier. But he has that power, and that he honestly loves that feeling of probably getting a knockout rather than choking somebody out. So, stands a little bit more than he should, and I think that could be his downfall in this fight. But we'll see. And Njokuani's his takedown defense has gotten a lot better. He even looked like he was trying to go for a guillotine against Dushko, which, honestly, I didn't believe he should have done that. But he showed that he's kind of progressed and he's willing to take chances on the mat. So if I had a bet, I'd probably take Chidi and Njokuani in this matchup.
I'm kind of leaning towards Chidi as well. I do feel like he's a little bit more dynamic. And you mentioned, at range, he probably has the better chance of finishing his opponent just because of just how technical he is and how long he is. And I think that is going to come into play here. I personally don't want to bet a whole lot of money on this fight because I feel like either guy could get the other one out of there. But I do feel like someone's getting finished. So why not roll the dice and go with one of the other here in a really interesting co-main event. Let's move to the big boys next. Tanner Boser, Rodrigo Nascimento. Boser is about a -160 favorite. Nascimento a +140 dog. I know Boser's got a lot of power and he seems to be fan favorite. I think the UFC is kind of behind him here and maybe wanting his star to rise a little bit. Does he get the win, or do you feel the underdog in Nascimento is going to come in there and get a big W?
I think it's a fight for Boser. It's his fight to lose. I just think he's the better fighter all around. I know Nascimento is definitely a good grappler, but I just don't think his wrestling is good enough to get Boser down, especially to keep him down, no less. And Boser are extremely hard to get a hold of to begin with. I mean, I know it's a small octagon, but Boser is extremely fast on his feet. And for Nascimento to come forward, he's going to be eating a ton of leg kicks and a ton of counters as Boser is in and out, darting in and out of, out of range, so to speak. So I'm going with Boser here. I think he should be able to sprawl and ball and possibly get a late finish or a clear decision. I really do like the decision prop at +350. I mean, Boser's not some crazy knockout artist. So if he gets the knockout, it's going to be due to Nascimento gassing after round 1, which I kind of see could happen. But I like to roll the dice a little bit on that decision prop at +350.
Okay, well, interesting bout there in the heavyweight division. Let's move to Bill Algio and Andre Fili next. Algio, about a +100 dog. Fili, about a -125 favorite here. I actually like the dog money. I think Bill Algio it gets a little disrespected. I feel like some people, maybe the people that are out there that are aligning the odds here, don't maybe fully take into consideration how well-rounded of a fighter he is. I think Algio is going to get Fili out of there. I know it's kind of almost like a pick 'em fight, but give me Bill Algio. What do you feel about this one?
I'm gonna have to bet on Andre Fili here. I think he's better than the line suggests. I think he should be a heavier favorite. I think what the downfall is he hasn't had a win since 2020. He got knocked down his last fight against someone Algio, beat pretty handily. But the thing is, Algio's coming in on short notice. He's fighting somebody his size for the first time in quite a while, or at all for that matter. I think Fili's definitely a much sharper striker on the feet, and I don't think Algio's grappling, or at least his offensive grappling in terms of getting the fight to the mat, his wrestling, is all that good to get Fili down. Fili's only been taken down by 2 fighters since 2017, I believe. And it was against Dennis Bermudez and Bryce Mitchell, who are far better wrestlers and grapplers than Bill Algio will ever be. So on the feet, I think Fili definitely wins this fight. And I don't expect him to be getting taken down and controlled like he did to, Brito and what he did to Herbert Burns either. So I'm taking Andre Fili here. And also, this is arguably his toughest opponent in his entire career. He's taken on short notice. And if you look at all the steps up in competition, he's lost every single one of them. Ricardo Ramos, he lost to. Ricardo Ramos, I'm sorry. And Ricardo Lamas, he lost to as well. And Brandon Lotney, he lost to as well. And Jared Gordon. Okay. And Shane Burgos. He lost to only good competition. And look at all the bad fighters he's beaten. Like every single person he's beaten probably shouldn't be in the UFC. Herbert Burns definitely shouldn't be in the UFC. Joe Anderson Brito should be because he got the knockout, obviously, but the rest, Strike Carlisle is not there. And that's about it. His 3 wins are Herbert Burns, Joe Anderson Brito, and Spike Carlisle.
You made great points, but I'm going to stick with Bill Algio here. I'm just going with my gut. I just have a feeling he's going to get a big win here over a veteran in Andre Fili.
We don't always have to see eye to eye. We're always going to have some differences, and I totally, that's how it goes. We're not always. We're always going to be on the right side, but one of us is going to win and one of us is going to lose. And we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to it. Again, UFC 60 this Saturday. Let's move to another very interesting bout. Joe Pifer making his UFC debut after we saw what he did at Contender Series. This guy's an absolute animal. He's a monster favorite, about a -450, -500 favorite over Alan Amedovski, who's a huge underdog, +350. Is there any money here on Amedovski, or are you just going with Pifer to keep the hype train rolling?
I really wouldn't go and bet Pifer at his line, considering he's only 11 fights into his career. He really hasn't fought great competition. And this is basically a short notice fight. And I guess his toughest opponent in his first fight in the UFC at minus 450. He should win the fight, but those odds are kind of ridiculous. I mean, and he's a Contender Series guy. We know track records on Contender Series guys. And it's not like he was running away with his fight. I mean, he obviously won vicious knockout, but it's not like he wasn't getting punched in the face. It's not like he wasn't taking damage. It's not like, he just walked in there 15 seconds, knocked the guy out, and walked out of there. And that's not how it worked. So does he have the skills to get it done? Absolutely. Would I bet him at his price? Absolutely not. I'm staying away from this fight, but my prediction would be for him to get a submission win, because I think he's much better on the mat. I feel like he's going to show his grappling skills, training at Renzo Gracie, and all those guys, Sean Brady and, the crew of grapplers over there. Pat Sabatini was on the fight card. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, ultimately, my prediction is for Pifer via submission, but I would not go out and bet on it.
Okay, fair enough. But you're going with Pifer, the big favorite. Okay, as am I. Another interesting bout, Anthony Hernandez, Marc-Andre Barriault. Hernandez is about a minus 175 favorite. Barriault a plus 150 dog. Is there dog money here, Garrett, or do you expect Fluffy to get a win?
I don't know what it is. I like Fluffy as like a person. I just don't think he's the best fighter. I'm not trying to be an asshole here. If I'm getting dog money, I like to bet on the dog versus Anthony Hernandez. Maybe he proves me wrong like he did his last fight, like his fight before that. Maybe he doesn't. But I think Marc-Andre Barriault, I think he's got the style. I think he's got good takedown defense. He's got some really sharp boxing on the feet. He's always got forward pressure. He's got great cardio. And he's got some good power to his hands. So as long as he is able to defend the takedowns and is coming forward, I think he's gonna be too much for him. Possibly get him out of there towards the later portion of the fight.
All right, Aspen Ladd and Sarah McMahon. Man, Sarah McMahon, she's got to be 40-something now. She's been around forever. She's a small underdog, about plus 115. Aspen Ladd, minus 140 favorite. Can the veteran Sarah McMahon pull out the small upset, or is the smart money on the younger fighter in Aspen Ladd?
It's crazy because I feel the Aspen Ladd of old would be a massive favorite in this matchup. Sarah McMahon, 43 years old at this point. Yeah, she looked good against Carol Hossa, but Hossa has no takedown defense. Aspen Ladd is actually a pretty good wrestler in her own right. Granted, it hasn't looked good as of late, but I think as long as she just defends takedowns, McMahon's going to gas after round one, and then she's going to be able to take over, get a hip toss or something like that, take her down, and possibly get her out of there in the later portion of this fight.
All right, now your guy, Trey Ogden, back in the octagon. He's taking on Daniel Zellhuber, and Ogden is actually a pretty sizable underdog here, Garrett, about plus 255. Daniel's about a minus 300, minus 305 favorite here. Can Trey Ogden, fighting out of Glory MMA and under James Krause, one of the rising best coaches in the world, can he pull the upset here, or do you believe the smart money is on Daniel Zellhuber?
I don't think it's smart money to bet on a Contender Series alum in his UFC debut, a year after. I'm almost certain he hasn't fought since a year ago. Last year, yeah, he hasn't fought since last year's Contender Series, so he hasn't fought in over a year. And he's making his UFC debut, and he's almost minus 300 favorite. I would definitely not bet him at that price. Does he have the skill set to win this fight? I think he does. I think Trey Ogden, he showed his last fight, he's not too technically sound on the feet. He was a little gun shy against Jordan, in his last fight against Jordan Levitt, and it was really disheartening watching that, because he was just letting Levitt just leg kick him about 100 times and not respond with any 1-2s or anything of the sort, not countering it, just getting kicked, and ultimately lost that way and fell multiple times on the mat in a fight that I feel like he should have been able to dominate, because he is a jiu-jitsu black belt, if I'm not mistaken. Really good grappler, didn't use his grappling much. And I think he's got better striking than what we've seen in his last fight. I think he puts up a much better fight in this one. But ultimately, I think Zellhuber's got, the better distance management. He's got the reach advantage, and he's pretty slick on the feet. He's packed some good power as well. So I'm going to take Zellhuber to win. but at that price, I'm probably gonna stay away.
All right, Nicholas Mota and Cameron Van Camp. Mota is about a minus 180 favorite. Van Camp a plus 160 dog. You know what? I feel like Mota is going to get back on track in this one. He's a well-rounded fighter, but he's very technical on the feet. I know he trains with some killers in the New Jersey area, so and he's tasted some UFC defeat as of late. So I feel like he's going to be even more motivated. Do you feel the same way? Do you think Mota's going to get the win? Is he smart money here, or do you feel like you can fade him and go with Van Camp?
I feel like we're getting a decent price on him. I would kind of wait until we get under the minus 200 line because it looks like a lot of money is coming in on Van Camp. I just haven't been impressed with him. Granted, I know he went against a powerhouse, but it's not like Van Camp was like UFC caliber before taking that short notice fight. So, I mean, he lost like 5 or 6 fights prior to being into the UFC against non-UFC level competition. So, I don't think he's on Mota's level. I think Mota will probably get a knockout at some point in this fight or get a wide decision win. I know he didn't look good against, the aged Jim Miller, got knocked out, but we've seen him come back from getting knocked out before. So I think he's going to come back more motivated with more anger and looking to possibly get a finish. And I think he probably gets it here.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. I got Nicholas Mota back in the win column here at UFC Vegas 60. Now, this is an interesting fight, and I'm actually a little surprised about the odds, so I'm really intrigued to get your take on this one, Mr. Fight Analyst, and it's Trevin Giles and Louis Kosi. Giles is a fairly decent favorite, minus 220, and Kosi, a pretty big dog, plus 175. I don't know, maybe I'm drinking the Kosi Kool-Aid from Contender Series, and I felt like he's going to be better than maybe he actually will be. Am I crazy saying that, or do you feel like this fight should be a little bit closer?
Let's put it this way: these are two guys I really, really would not bet any money on. They're just no. We know that Kosi's probably done after round 1. He's round 1 or bust. I mean, when you fade against somebody like Sasha Palatnikov, that is terrible in its own right. That's horrible. But then Trevin Giles, on the other hand, has the fight IQ of about 0. I mean, you're talking about a guy that goes in there instead of outstrikes Jeremy Milsharp before he got good in striking all of a sudden. Instead of staying on your feet and outstriking him, you're going and taking down the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt that has like 20 submissions going into that fight. So, like, pick your poison of what you want. You got a guy that's going to fight hard for 5 minutes and lose, or the guy that puts himself in horrible positions to lose as well. So ultimately, I would not advise betting on this fight. But as far as this fight goes in the line we have, I do think you would want to bet on the Kosi side because Giles, I don't think is warranted as a minus 205 favorite against anybody, really. Anybody. I don't care. And Kosi, we've seen him. He has some power. He's got some wrestling. And he has the ability to finish. Giles, he's been too gun shy. His striking hasn't looked as good as it has in the past. I don't know what's up. I think Kosi possibly gets a KO here.
Okay, so you are drinking the Kosi Kool-Aid, at least for this fight. So we're on the same page. I like Louis Kosi as well. Now, this next one, Garrett, really could be a sneaky undercard fight of the night. Damon Jackson, Pat Sabatini. Jackson is a plus 155 dog. Sabatini, a minus 190 favorite. And I kind of feel like Jackson's submission game and just how slick he is. He's a veteran. Sabatini's a little bit newer to the game, that he might be able to catch him here in something. Do you feel the same way, or do you feel like Sabatini and his wrestling chops are going to get it done?
Man, I've been back and forth on this fight for a couple of days now, but I don't know. Sabatini, he didn't warrant his line last fight. I don't think he looked as heavy of a favorite that he was against TJ Laramie. I feel like he was slowing down as the fight progressed as well. And I feel like this is going to be a tough fight. I think Damon Jackson is going to be able to push him. He's going to make him scramble a lot. And we know Damon Jackson can scramble for 15 minutes, no problem. I think Jackson could possibly pull, when he got that late submission coming into the UFC. I forgot who he fought. I'm just drawing a blank. But he got the late submission, and then he could definitely do that here. And he's riding a good hot streak right now. Maybe he's leveling up at this point. And I kind of like to take Jackson as a dog here. I like Sabatini. I've been high on him coming into the UFC. I knew about him on the regional scene. I knew how good he was going to be. But just something tells me that he just fades, it gets tired, and Jackson takes over. I mean, Sabatini's going to come out there, guns blazing, first round, takedowns, control, maybe take his back, a little bit of ground and pound, but then scrambles occur. And then he, it's a big round one, he wins, but then he starts slowing down from there on out, trying to grapple, gets sloppy, and Jackson takes over.
Yeah, I really can't wait for that fight. And I'm saying that too, as objectively as possible, because I do interview Damon fairly frequently. And I know he actually told me that he loves this fight for himself. He thinks he's going to get Sabatini out of there. So we will see on Saturday. Maria Agapova, Jillian Robertson. This is an interesting female bout. Robertson minus 150 favorite. Agapova is the dog here, plus 125. Do you have dog money on Agapova, or do you feel like Jillian Robertson is getting her hand raised?
Oh man, this is one fight. These are two women that I really don't like having my money on. I'm just being honest. It's just they've burned me in the past, so maybe I'm scoring a little bit. It's just, I mean, Jillian Robertson, she has legit grappling chops. It's just if she can't get it there, she loses every single time. And the way that she wasn't able to get it to the mat against JJ Aldrich, that is very, very bad. Like very bad. I mean, I don't think JJ Aldrich has great takedown defense or great grappling for you to not be able to take her down and keep her there and submit her. And then Agapova, she lost her last fight against Moroz. That was pretty bad. She doesn't have good takedown defense. So there lies the point avenue for victory for Jillian Robertson. So granted, if you're going to bet this fight, it's got to be Jillian Robertson by sub or decision, the double prop, to lower your chances. And then it's going to be Agapova by KO or decision, double prop as well. Double chance is what they call it. And you get a little bit more money there as well, because then you're saving everything, because there's no way Jillian Robinson is getting a TKO and there's no way Agapova is getting a sub. It's possible, yes, but I'll take my damn chance.
Okay. You are so seasoned when it comes to the gambling aspect of things. I'm telling you, I'm dragging you to Vegas with me sometime soon, Garrett. There's no doubt about it. Now, this next fight, I'm hoping that you're on my side here and you're feeling like the guy that who I'm going to talk about.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Tony Gravely. He's literally, I feel like, one of the absolute best wrestlers in the UFC bantamweight division, and he's a small underdog here, about plus 145 against Javid Basharat, who's about a minus 170 favorite. I love Gravely. I feel like ever since he made the move to ATT, he's only getting better. Do you think he keeps the win streak going and gets a W here, or do you feel like Basharat is the rightful favorite?
No, I'm definitely taking Tony Gravely here for sure. I mean, he's plus 140. He's way more seasoned. You're talking about a guy who's got 30 professional fights to Basharat's 12. Granted, Basharat's very talented. He's very good on his feet. He's got good submissions as well, but he's fought a bunch of no one his entire career. His best win was his last fight against Jones, and that's it. Okay, I think Gravely's obviously better than Jones. Let's put it that way. He's never faced a grappler like Gravely, and Gravely's stand-up has gotten a lot better, And he's got some legit power now. He's got legit power in his hands. You talk about he knocked out Munoz with a short right uppercut. That's it. That was all it took. And then he he should have finished Nate Maness too. And that's 2 of his last 3.
Yeah.
And he has the wrestling to fall back to if he needs it. So I think Basharat, he's going to have some success on the feet. Obviously, he's got some really good kickboxing, really good movement. But I think the smaller octagon helps. He'll be able to walk him down, lands a few shots. Mind you, they both have a 69-inch reach. So it's not like Basharat, yes, he's taller, but he doesn't have the reach advantage. And it's not like Gravely hasn't fought guys that are bigger and taller than him. Yeah. 2 of his last 3 guys were the 2 of the tallest bantamweights in the division. So he's going to be ready for the height. I feel like he's geared up, and he's going to fight smart, use his takedowns, grind him out, and just just beat him up for 15 minutes.
Yeah, give me Tony Gravely all day long. It has nothing to do with the fact that right here above my shoulder is a signed picture for Mr. Tony Gravely, because I've been interviewing him since we're talking 5 years now, before he was the CES champion. He's a phenomenal human being. So yes, I do root for him, but I honestly can say I feel like he's going to get this win here. It's not going to be easy. Basharat is tough. This is not going to be an easy fight, but give me Tony Gravely here for the win. Now, Loma Lookboonmee and Denise Gomes is our last fight that we're going to talk about, and I believe it'll be the first fight of the evening at UFC 60, UFC Vegas 60, and Loma is a plus 205, or excuse me, a minus 205 favorite. Denise Gomes is a plus 175 dog. Is there dog money here on Gomes, or do you feel like Loma Lookboonmee is the play?
Man, I definitely want to bet on Loma at that price. Granted, I don't think highly of Denise Gomes, who I cashed it out on Contender, might I add. Very high on her, not really high on her, but I'm just happy that she cashed for me. So I kind of have to side with her a little bit. I got a little bias here, and she's like, what, almost plus 200? She's a girl that throws a lot of volume and it's always pressing forward. Loma, I feel like she's going to have to hurt her in order for her to win, because I feel like Denise has the ability to just out-volume her. Not really beat her, not really land the more damaging shots, but just out-volume her, be busier. Loma's not very busy on her feet. She's very technical on her feet. She's very defensively sound. But I think Denise just coming forward, being the busier fighter, and just kind of landing more shots, she could pull off the upset.
All right. Well, can't wait. Another great card the UFC is putting on from the Apex in Las Vegas. And that's going to do it for us. 14 fights we covered in just under 30 minutes. So as always, make sure you go to the Vegas Odds YouTube channel. You subscribe, because there is a lot of content coming at you all the time, not just of MMA, but of all kinds of sports. So make sure you follow Vegas Odds on YouTube.